seems like we're all looking for the action.
We are not live, but we are here with another episode of the Underflow Podcast with one of my best friends, Scott Robert Allen, who is also known as Scoffs and has made music with many a musical project. Welcome, Scott. Thank you for being here on the Underflow Podcast.
Well, you're quite welcome, Adam.
I can't even, Thunderbirds Are Now, Red Shirt Brigade, Big Mess, Scoffs. Am I missing any other side projects? The Flying Burrito Brothers of...
Well, I guess just back to Big Mess. But no, I did stuff in like even middle school and high school. I remember one time I was playing with a group of friends, different group of friends, and we tried out for a talent show, but they themed the talent show to like a country western talent show. And our guitar player at the time loved Bush, and he really wanted to do Swallow. So we covered Swallow, and whatever. And they said no. And then our band teacher was like, come and play at the orchestra night. So it was like outside, and it was crazy because it got windy and like papers were flying all over the place. But it was fun. But yeah, those are all the bands.
That sounds like a magical introduction to music as a young man in middle school. It's like, and you stuck true to your values right away. You said, fuck that country western bullshit. We're playing Bush. So.
Well, some country western is good, but maybe not when you're not in middle school, But I got a lot of my musical influence, first and foremost from my dad's stuff. Him writing. My dad wrote songs when we were kids. Me and my brother were kids, and so there was a lot of that in the house. But then he showed us the type of music that 60s and 70s rock and roll. And then my brother introduced me to more like Weezer and stuff like that, those types of things. And then bands, like a lot of Chicago bands like Joan of Arc and Braid, but then a lot of Canadian bands too. Local Rabbits being one that I really love. Sloan being, of course, the one everyone knows. And then
you guys get to open
in that time.
Open for Sloan too?
Yeah, Thunderbirds opened for them in Cleveland, actually. But my brother and I and my dad, we would like a bunch of us, that label Suburban Sprawl Music, which was kind of like a Livonia label. A lot of those guys in the earlier days, like all loved Sloan. So we all would, get in the van together and go see him play in Windsor or Toronto or something like that. We saw Eric's Trip and Elevator to Hell. So it was like, that era of music was cool to see.
It's funny because like there's so much going on. I mean, it's funny. At first, I thought you were gonna say you guys played "Swallow" by Bush in the like country western vibe, and then I was gonna be really impressed for middle schoolers. But I was gonna say it's funny because I feel like when people think of the '90s, they think of like Radiohead and Bush and like Bloodhound Gang and like the end of the '90s, like Limp Bizkit and like rap rock. But in reality, like you said, there was so much good music happening in the underground. Like obviously all the stuff like in the Steve Albini world, but also all the stuff like you were saying, kind of like that Chicago like jazz math rock. Like because I was Yeah, I love the sea and cake, and I love Tortoise. And you were saying that John McIntyre played drums in some other band. Is that Joan of Arc that you were talking about? Or no?
No, Tim Kinsella was kind of the guy that played with Joan of Arc, and his brother played drums. But the other day when you and I were talking, I was talking to you about Jim O'Rourke,
York. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I'm a huge. Well, I really loved Eureka and Insignificance and Bad Timing, and I forget what the EP was called. Halfway to a three-way, I think is what it's called.
He
Yeah,
played
and
Sympathy Songs later, which I really need to listen to.
well, and then he put out a record. I don't know, like 5 or 6 years ago, maybe longer now, called Simple Songs. That's kind of in that realm, but he also does a lot of instrumental and sort of like noise type projects that he does too. He's an incredibly interesting guy,
He was
but
doing,
heavily influenced for Scoff stuff.
oh, hell yeah.
Well, I don't think I was like consciously listening to him. I just think it's always been in my head. It left an impression, especially Eureka.
Right. Yeah. And so, yeah, I guess to get back to your timeline, you started making music like, with your dad and your brother Ryan when you were in middle school and then in high school. And then that kind of led to Thunderbirds Are Now, which, again, like I've told you and Ryan this before, but there was that like Motor City like mixtape CD that From Skulls was on. And like
Okay.
I remember listening to that CD, and there's some other good stuff on there too, like the Nice Devices on there. I thought they were cool, but I very distinctly remember being like, "What is this?" when I heard From Skulls, and I was like, "Thunderbirds, like this is so fucking cool." And then again, like we were talking about the other day, I mean, just French Kiss Records in itself is like legendary. I love Less Savvy Fav. I love that band from New Zealand that they signed, Cut Off Your Hands. I don't know if you ever listened to them. They were super fucking good. I don't know what
I
happened.
think they were after us. They could have been after us. I don't know.
So then you spent your 20s like touring North America and Australia and where else? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I really started touring with Red Shirt Brigade
Mhm.
uh, when I was still in high school. And I remember a couple of the tours. Weirdly, there's a couple things I could say. I'm sure my parents would not, they were excited, but they were also extremely scared, because I'm like 15, 16 years old, you know.
Like
Uh,
almost famous. That's like Kings of Leon and like that band Rooney. They were like touring in high school and like I that's like what I
Yeah, but I think they had LA and Hollywood, kind of backing them, or they had a record label. I mean, Red Shirt Brigade didn't really have a record label. We had an opportunity, and the opportunity was drive to Seattle and record with Chris Walla from that band Death Cab for Cutie. And I think they had like 3 records out. Um,
I
at
love
that time. They weren't like a huge band or whatever, but to us they were, because of the underground scene was, kind of like, all we had or all we cared about. And so it was a huge opportunity, and we all got in the van and we went to Seattle, and we recorded at the same studio that like Nirvana's Bleach was recorded. A lot of demos for I think a lot of like Pearl Jam demos. I think Sleater Kenny recorded there. Red Hot Chili Peppers, like a lot of like I think earlier, like when you're just getting started, or maybe later, I don't know, but it was just kind of a cool experience to do that. Um, and then when that band ended, um, which was a bummer, when Thunderbirds started, which lessened the bummer, we kind of picked it up and did it again because we had that experience. We kind of understood what we had to do. And, my brother was older and we were all a little bit older. I wasn't that much older, but got in the band, toured, and met the dudes from Les Savy Fav. Sid Butler is the bass player of that band, who for a long time was in that later nowadays was on the Seth Meyers show. But he liked our band, he signed us, and we went on tour even more and more and more and more, and it never kind of never stopped. And it was, it was kind of a amazing, wonderful, scary, humbling, fast growing for me experience.
Yeah, I mean, like almost a straight decade of your life, especially Red Shirt Brigade into Thunderbirds Are Now. I mean, how did Red Shirt Brigade even get hooked up with Christopher Walla? Like, how did he hear you guys to invite you guys out to Seattle? That's so cool.
We were in Ann Arbor. We played a house show in Ann Arbor, Michigan. We played a house show at this place called the Lunchbox, and it was just like basement shows, parties and rock and roll in the basement. And Red Shirt Brigade opened up for Death Cab for Cutie. I think Fred Thomas might have played too.
So funny. I was just gonna say, Fred Thomas always says that shit to me. He's like, house shows, man. Like that's where it's at. And he's
But
like,
it's true. I mean, it's true. I mean, I remember there was the Pirate House, which was another house show, and there was the Half Ass. Um, was that in Ann Arbor? I think it was, but it was like in it, like underneath dorms, and then the lunchbox, and I remember Thunderbirds Are Now in the beginning of that band. We we played with Q Not You, and their bass player was like, "We need more room," and he started like chopping down like the supports in the basement. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, it was just like, yeah, that was crazy. There was a huge flood in the back toilet that night too. I remember that being, and I'm like 16 years old. I'm, well, maybe a little older, like 18, but I was like 18 years old hanging out with like 22-year-olds.
real rock stars. That's, I mean, growing up, like one of my favorite movies ever was Almost Famous, and I feel like you like had that life for real. Like your brother was like, "We're going on tour." Okay. And then like you just grew up like, teen into your 20s and like you guys were a critically acclaimed rock band. I mean, like I was like reading a review for Just a Mustache the other day and I was like, holy shit, like gushing about you guys. And I was like, man, like it's so cool. Like I obviously it was a different time, but like you guys made real friends and like you really like traveled and like I've never been to Australia. I've always wanted to go to Australia. That must have been awesome to play music there.
Yeah, I think that's what it is like, the music was fun, and being with my brother was great. Being with everybody that were in both those bands were awesome people to be with and be influenced by. All their good for all their good trades and all their bad trades. You learn from each other, and you like there is that bond. But like, being able to see things at a young age with like out mom and dad, it's like a not really typical way. It's like most people who go to Europe around my age would go with their parents, or whatever, or maybe on a,
School.
uh, school, like college thing or whatever. But I guess what I'm saying is like, those are the things that you look back and you just kind of go, holy crap, I can't believe I got to see all those places. And I wish that we were able to do it longer, but you know, at that time. But then now I'm just like, that was good. I'm happy that because there's so many people that didn't get to do that. There's people that were 10 years older than me that were looking at me like, why is this kid able to do this? Like my band, can't even hardly get out of Detroit. And I understand that. Like
Yeah.
it just we didn't pull the thinnest or the shortest stick. Were able to get one of the longest stick out of a very tight gripped thing. And to be able to have some of that luck
Mhm. Yeah, I
is
mean,
a cool thing.
the music was good, and you guys were really good live, and there was, like you said, like synergy, between you guys in the band that I feel like, people really fed off of, and so it's not like it wasn't warranted. And that it's so exciting, when you're young, but then it also must have been weird because like it's also just a brother band, like a band with your brother, and then like all of a sudden you're in your 20s and like tan is coming to an end, and then you like went back to school and like I mean, yeah, a whole bunch of things happened, obviously,
Well,
like
I mean, for like 4 or 5 years, I like kind of didn't do anything.
or
I I I had a job, whatever, and I was living down the street from this bar, and I would go in there, and a lot of people from my high school were still there.
yeah.
Like,
Yep.
hi from, how many years later, and a couple of friends, my friend Mike, still hung out with the Cardin brothers. And uh, another friend of ours, Craig, CJ, was the first bass player in Big Mess, and we all got together, and my dad had like music equipment in the basement, so we just like went down there and started writing songs on my dad's shit. And now my dad is in that band, which is awesome and fun. Also, you sometimes have to repeat what you need to say to him because he doesn't hear you the first time. But besides that, it is a joke. I mean, it's so cool. It's like actually, I just thought of it. It's like it is pretty wild that like I have always been in like a band with family members or one of my own.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, I was
Not in Scoffs, man. Solo project.
well, I think it makes sense because I mean, you are just so prolific and you write so much stuff, and so you started doing Big Mess like in the late 2000s or like, 2010 was when you guys put out the first record ish.
Maybe. I don't remember.
You guys
Yeah,
put out like a couple albums, couple singles, couple splits, played a bunch of shows. Again, it's so funny that like we didn't play, like the Kodaks didn't play with Big Mass or Moon Lake didn't play with Big Mass because obviously, we were playing with Friendly Foes and like the hand grenades and like so were you. But
yeah.
it's just a small world. And then yeah, I mean, I was doing Shady Groves for a while, but then I had moved to Scotland and then back, and we didn't meet till then, like until like properly until like the pandemic when you put out the first Scoffs record, or well, technically it was Scott Robert Allen then, and you always had this
It's
other.
always kind of lame when like people like change their name, but like I didn't really.
Scoffs is a really good name. Not, I mean, you have a really great name that your parents gave you, and I think it was like you were like, "Oh, I'm gonna do a solo album." But then when I was like, "Hey, you have all this other stuff," and I kept poking you, like, "Will you please release more? Please release this stuff. I fucking love these songs." You were like, "Okay, I'll go by Scoffs," which again, it's like one of my favorite band names like ever, especially
Well,
because
I thought about it because I'm like I struggle with it because like I didn't write music for a really long time. Uh, I got married and I didn't really write anything for about 8 9 years, uh, and then when the pandemic hit, it was out of boredom, and I had more time and I could think, and I think we all could. I wish we could all benefit from an opportunity like that, in a non less when it, like a less tragic way, but
But I
if
know
we
what you mean. Yeah, totally. Like
you
think
know, but
that.
like to be able to have that time for yourself to kind of like consider like who you are as a person and like kind of self-reflect. I mean, I think that's what a lot of people do when they do write something quote unquote solo, right? Because it like becomes like a more vulnerable thing. So it almost makes sense that I kind of was like hitting keys again. And that was really a great experience for me, like personally. So like, I kind of always like struggled with like wanting to like put something out there again and release something because it's like, the weight it's just different than now, like I don't want to really play shows, pressing records sounds like a silly thing if I'm not gonna like push it like, live wise. But yeah, I'm sorry, I kind of
You
lost
never
myself.
know. You never know. Like that's the whole goal with Underflow is I'm like, well, I just urge friends to put the music out there because it's like the kind of like if you build it, they will come type of thing. And I always believe like everybody has their niche, like whether you're making visual art or audio or whatever. And and again, it's so funny because like I've been listening to your music since Thunderbirds, and I somehow totally missed Big Mass. And then when you put out the first Scoffs record, that album like it really like hit home for me, and like still I listen to that record. I mean, all three of the Scoffs records that you have out now, and it's funny because obviously, like you're saying, like the whole world really could use like a timeout right now, but like a less traumatic one than like the pandemic, or whatever, But it's in that span of time, personally, you and I have gotten closer as friends, and I feel like we've totally reinvented ourselves, like personally, like, kind of career wise, like, and so also the evolution of the music and like the moniker makes sense too in that way because I kept urging you to put more music out, and I'm so grateful that you are because your songs are beautiful, dude, and
Well,
it's
it's a thank you.
so cool to hear the different sides of you. Like, because Big Mess is like a band, and it's big and baroque, and it has that like, could be like you said, we were talking about how much we love like 60s and 70s rock, but Scoffs is totally different. And like you said, it's like your solo music, and it does feel more intimate and therefore vulnerable. And I mean, when the Kodaks broke up, I started playing shows as Adam Fitzgerald for a while. And then and again, when Shady Groves like was on hiatus, I moved to Scotland. I was like, all right, I'm going to start playing shows like by myself. But I didn't want to like, have my own name out there. So that's why I ended up going by Quells for DJ
Yeah.
gigs and solo gigs and now music. So I totally get, where you're coming from. And it's like, it seems like a totally different, like, mind space. It seems like Severance. Like your innie is making Scoffs and your outie is making Big Mess.
Well, I was married, and I'm now divorced, but when I got married, I mean, the name Scott Robert Allen was my own name.
So how about
Um,
I ask you, why did you choose for Scoffs? Not only you made the name switch from Scott Robert Allen to Scoffs, but you've also been having the old guy filter like the whole time too, which I don't know, maybe you want to talk a little bit about the persona of Scoffs or the headspace of Scoffs.
yeah, so like basically, look, Scott Robert Allen was kind of a fun. I just wanted to put the music out. I didn't necessarily like have a good name at the time. And then when you kept pushing me to release some more stuff, I kind of like scoffed at it. So it was like sort of like so I mean, I actually was watching a movie with a subtitle on and it said Scoffs. like the person Scoffs, and I thought it was kind of funny because it's so close to my name. Um, and so, anyways, but yeah, with the old man face, I just, it's just kind of like, I just like, social media. I
Hmm.
don't know, like, I don't want to be rude because, like, look,
Mhm.
people who write music, they take certain things seriously more so than not, and I just think it kind of looks ridiculous when you like pose for band photos. Like not many people look that cool in a band. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Like the Rolling Stones look cool, the Beatles look cool, you know. I, I mean, the Strokes look cool, but like Blur doesn't look that cool.
That
Like, I
blur
mean,
does
Damon looks a little cool, but Graham
beach
is
ball
not.
thing.
He's a nerd, and I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. But no, but it just comes off a little cheesy
Well, because
sometimes.
those guys, Blur especially, like Graham Coxon would probably tell you that he like hated those photo shoots too, like for the same reason, like because
Yeah, he's not that. He's not like a rock and roll looking guy. He's just
right.
like a
And
really great guitar player and who's in a was in a great band. Um,
I feel like I was
I-
like saw something. I don't know if it was like an interview with Emily Blunt, that actress, like the British actress, and she was saying how like at one point in the 90s, like every music magazine had either Kurt Cobain's face on it or Damon Albarn's face on it. And I feel like both of them and like Blur and Nirvana, all those guys, like they were so anti that, like you said, they were just really good musicians who really wanted to put music out and not like sell a product, let alone like do the like sex
well,
sells
it's definitely a gimmick, right? Like the old face thing is a gimmick. It just was like I remember
opposite of
that.
Kiss, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's just kind of like it's sort of poking fun of the idea of like what it's like to like be in a band. Well, what if it's just like an old dude writing music that sounds like it's coming from a younger mind?
Totally.
And I didn't really want to share my face. But then at the same time, it was I was doing it. Like I was like taking pictures of people and making them look old and sending it to them. I just thought it was funny, and so I was like, do
It
that,
is funny.
make it that way. But I think music. I think a lot of music is really, really cheesy. I think there's a lot of like really bad music, but then there's like a lot of really good music too. So, and I just think the whole um, like idea behind music and what you have to do to like,
So phony.
make your presence be known is like silly.
Yeah,
It's
no,
just silly to me.
it's
It's like I did it. I did it. I had to do it, and every single time we did it, I felt dumb. But like people like, but there are great photographers. Like the cover of New York Dolls is like incredible. Like but it's also like so like ridiculous.
right. That's why
So I don't
I've
know.
also liked solo artists who approach it a certain way, like the Here Comes Rhyme Simon album artwork, the Ram album artwork in the back of McCartney One, like when like they were like starting to have kids and like just being kind of goofy and silly with it. And that goes back to like the silly like Jim O'Rourke album covers and not taking yourself too seriously when there's like it's like what did Lester Bangs calls it called rock and roll an industry of cool, right? And like, it's now cool as like a product and it's just so phony because it's usually like to sell like clothes or like whatever, and I feel like
Yeah.
opposite of why you're making music and again because we weren't really friends yet and like add the old filter into it and like pandemic and everything, especially listening to the first album, there was that kind of mystery of like who is this? Like, holy shit. And like, especially because you had like a bunch of homies all over that record. And so when I was like going through like the track list and the liner notes, I was like, I know all of these people. Like, who is this guy? Like, what the fuck? And then I think I had like talked to like Scott Masson or maybe Trevor Nod, and they're like, "You mean Ryan's brother?" Like, wow,
Right.
like, and I was like, oh my God, like, how have we never connected? And then, like, I felt like listening to that record, I was like literally listening to it on the daily during the pandemic, and I felt like that, like, Step Brothers moment, like, did we just become best friends? Yup. Like, man, this guy's so cool. Like, his music is so fucking good. Like, it's really layered in this like beautiful symphonic, like orchestral way. Which you do that with Big Mess, but it's like such a different like project and like life to it. And like Scoffs feels like this like, little like Air or something. Like they have that one record called Pocket Symphony or whatever, like that kind of thing, like there's that vibe of, Gorillaz or Jim O'Rourke or like, that.
I mean, and maybe that is what it's from. I mean, like maybe like it's the persona thing. It's like, Daft Punk. But I mean, like right now I can't make myself look old. I mean I could.
You could, yeah.
I'm sure there's a filter, but I don't feel like searching for it. And like I don't want to like be overly gimmicky, but at the same time, it's like I will still continue to do it the way I want to do it. And
I
like
would
that's the fun of it. Like I don't want it to be serious. I don't I mean there's serious moments on those records. And I think a lot of those I think like both those EP things um on are kind of, soul searching records a little bit, like re-understanding who you are as a person, trying to understand like why I'm here, what is the purpose of being here. I have those questions all the time. I mean, I am terrified of dying, which is probably why I made myself old to prepare myself,
and
in some way, you
whole
know.
death thing with Scraps too. So because you were like not gonna put out another record at all, but I'm insanely obsessed with the Scoffs song Reactions. I think it's a masterpiece. And so I said, please put that out, put out some of the other ones. You had that other song that you made with Josh Epstein from Junior Junior, formerly Dale Earnhardt Junior Junior. So after enough time, I think it literally took like maybe 2 years of me harassing you. You put out that EP, and there was the
Well,
whole
it just didn't feel it. I was like, they were like songs that I wrote like right after that um full length self-titled album.
so they were
And yeah, and it was kind of like what I was working towards writing another thing, and then I got a divorce during that time, which
restarted Big Mess.
very much took me by surprise. And yeah, that was a bummer for a lot of reasons. And then uh it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel like right to like continue on that stuff. And I wrote like more songs, like, and I still have like, I don't know, some tucked away or whatever, but like um did you just thumbs up me?
I'm so excited because
Good man, awesome.
you got the scoff stuff. I feel like, like, you're very open with me about Big Mess stuff, but I feel like you're very, again, and that's fair. It's like what you're saying. It's intimate, it's vulnerable stuff, and I'm super grateful that you put out this
Well, I'm not trying to be.
scoff.
You can ask me anything about it. I guess what I'm saying is like it is a what was I saying? The thumbs up.
You were saying sometimes like it doesn't feel right, like especially when like
Oh
songs.
yeah, so like yeah, like I just was too close to that, and I didn't really want to like go there. But whatever. I mean, like I could listen to them in a new ear, a couple of years later, 3 years or whatever it was, and that's called scraps. but like it was the idea was like behind it is kind of what always it's very biblical. Like um like when I think about like Jesus, like he's in a robe, right? And he's like on like some like mountain with like a sun behind him and there's like birds flying and whatever. Like,
Yeah.
but like today, like there's the internet and there's like it's just so funny to me to like think about like if there was never a Jesus Christ until now, and then there was no religion, but we still like lived like in the society we live in with no religion, then he becomes Jesus Christ, and then like can you imagine like what the velvet paintings would look like for the first time to people like 500 years from now with like
Oh,
I don't know, it's just like that was it's just weird. The whole thing is weird. I mean, I will go down rabbit holes on things about, why we're here or whatever. There's tons of stuff that we could probably talk about that would bore the shit out of the majority of people, but or maybe not. I don't know. The world's
part of why
world is
we became friends so quickly, I think.
yeah.
Like, you are not a bullshit person at all. Like you'll fuck with people and you're like funny, like, like you're a fucker, like prankster style, like a pesky kid, Ben Champagne. But like you are a really no nonsense person in the way that like you don't like talk about small stuff. Like you're not afraid to like talk about the real stuff in life, like life and death stuff, like divorce and like children and like worries and like, the good and the bad and the ugly, it's really hard to talk about like mortality. And I think the older we get and the more you're around death, like, it's always astonishing to me. Nobody wants to talk about it. Like no one can hack it, It's like no one can rationalize it, because it's super psychedelic and weird. And so then you try to like rationalize it with science, or you try to rationalize it with spirituality or with religion. And, everybody has their own take and everybody deserves to have their own take. But we should all be like talking about it and like normalizing it. And, like in so many other cultures and countries and societies, like death is like an intimate part of like everyday life, like celebrated, like George Harrison has that song, The Art of Dying, and I think it's just part of the Western capitalist, bourgeoisie mind control of the 99% working class is like distract them with bread and circuses and boy bands and culture and fashion and fast food and then never let them talk about why are we here? How do we exist? Like what is consciousness? How can we have psychedelic experiences or even, normal like daily drug experiences with, pain pills or coffee or tobacco or weed or gummies where you shift your consciousness and we get to experience the world in a different way. And it's like a fraction of humanity, like a small percentage of us are even willing to have these conversations. I mean, some might call us psychonauts, some might call us conspiracy theorists, which is just a term coined by the CIA to discredit researchers. So that's how I always think of it. It's like we're researchers, looking into the insanity of life, the complexity and impossibility of the human experience. I mean, again, like you said, it goes back to like religion and Jesus and aliens. And, I mean, part of everything happening with the Jeffrey Epstein stuff right now, like revealing that, again, the 99% of this world, the majority of our population are ruled by a very small 1% billionaires, tech bro overlords that are running this human trafficking ring, which is linked to, the oppression of the global south by the global north and like all these horrible things, and it's been shown to us like throughout movies and like, like both you and I are huge Stanley Kubrick fans and like everything from 2001 to like
Who isn't?
Yeah, right. Well, you got to be hip. You know, if you're not a Kubrick fan, you're not hip. But I mean, I don't know what happened to him. It's like all these people died. I'm reading. Oh, I should have that book. I'll get it in a minute to show you. But it's
He died because he outed the baby eating satanic cult.
and it's
But
real. And it's a lot of these people found I was going down a rabbit hole about Jimi Hendrix the other day. Like everybody who was like with him the night he died, like
was he really right-handed or left-handed?
exactly. But what I was gonna say is I feel like one of the things that could drop next is like, it's another reality shifting, thing could be like this alien connection, between especially like whatever happened post World War II, whatever the Allies found when they got to central Germany and like, the heart of the Third Reich, that was the beginning of the Cold War, right? And Russia and America have been enemies ever since. And a lot of people say it's like something to do with the structure of our planet, the structure of our universe, aliens, God, religion. I mean, it could be revealed that, the angels and demons of old in the biblical times are actually like interdimensional creatures or like stranger things or demons like aliens like like reptilian aliens are just demons or avian aliens are just fucking angels or whatever and again this could just be the human mind trying to rationalize it all but it's like gosh it's like are you familiar with the Fermi paradox? I don't want to massacre it, but it's kind of like it's you should look into it. It's kind of like this idea of like why we haven't encountered an extraterrestrial life yet. But we probably have. They're probably among us. We're probably being
I
monitored.
mean, if aliens are real, which I think they are, I think before we make contact, we need to learn how to get along with each other before we get along with them. And I think if we're being monitored by them, then we should understand that things should be less valuable because we aren't alone then. And so things like currency and stuff like that should all go away or be shifted in a different way and understand what our resources are a little bit more instead of abusing them. And I'm talking like,
Well
you
said.
know, um,
Well,
farming and like that. So
wealth redistribution. So we could, yeah, I mean, we're talking about terraforming other planets, and like we have enough farming equipment and technology, and everybody could have houses, healthcare, free internet, and it would take a fraction of like the, percentage of goods that are in this world to do so. And especially, now that like the US is just in hot water all over the place and maybe World War III is starting. Like all these other countries are coming out with technology that seems like it's been suppressed for a long time, like cures for diseases and these incredible like
you're
spot.
dating this video, man. You're
Yeah, I
dating
mean,
this
yeah, who
video.
knows what'll leak out by the time that I feel like I was telling you about this.
Maybe we're at war right now.
I
Maybe things are happening. No,
it's
it's not funny to talk about. I mean, it's we're living a
Americans are
scary,
not in the
scary
Middle
time.
East right now, like for the US and for Israel. And like you said, there's really like no need for that, I wish we could just all figure out how to get along. I wish it wouldn't take aliens. You were kind of saying there's like a whole narrative out there online right now that there's like a new Steven Spielberg movie. It's called like Disclosure or Disclosure
Yeah,
Day.
Disclosure Day, man. I can't wait to see it. Another alien Spielberg movie, which I think will be great.
And
Um, but
like
like with
Close
what's
Encounters.
up?
People say Close Encounters of the Third Kind is like total like just documentary essentially. So
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that too. I mean, that's the thing. You can go down a rabbit hole and you can get lost in this stuff. And I think that's the whole thing. I remember when AOL first started, and I was like, and I think I was like really attracted to it, honestly, because it sounded like a synthesizer, like starting, like, oh, like it was like, whoa.
startup sounds. That's like
And
you know?
and when I heard that and when I understood that, I remember thinking to myself, Oh, God is fucked because he can't control you the same way.
This is what Nietzsche was talking about with the whole God is dead thing. He foresaw the internet, you know? I mean,
Who?
Nietzsche, Friedrich Nietzsche has this whole thing
Oh,
about like God is dead, and he was like a really controversial
well,
philosopher.
it's just different now. And
The Third
you
Reich,
can't, you
Nazis
can't,
repurposed Nietzsche's writings, you know, and I think that's like exactly kind of like what you're saying is like no one like you can't like let the cat like the cat's been out of the box, out of the bag. You can't put it back in the bag. Like Pandora's box has been opened with the internet, you know, and it's like a whole like have you ever heard of that guy Marshall McLuhan? He was like a big scientist and like a philosopher, and he had this whole thing about how like media is the extension of mankind, and it's like our devices, like our phones and our and he was like talking about this like at the dawn of computers, you know, but like especially now, like our phones and our computers are even our instruments, our synthesizers, our studio bits are like part of us. It's like physical extensions of mankind's
no,
consciousness.
I mean, I believe it. And I think that's why, like, I'm so happy that I decided to, like, pick up music again is because it literally was like a lost appendage for a long time. It's not just like an expression uh, that like it's a full body experience, especially when you like um, come up with something that you're really proud of, especially when it's fast. I mean, I hear people say that all the time. I hear, and I believe it because I experience it. I do experience that. It's a really cool thing. And that's probably why I am a little bit more hesitant on releasing stuff because a lot of it is like self-expression for myself just to maybe get through things, like a little melody loop or something that I'll like come up with or it's just to kind of like mentally stabilize, maybe frustration in the day at work or whatever. Like it just kind of like um really helps ease my mind. I think a lot of people have that, and music is one of those things that does help me. So um
Left brain, right brain, I think, right? It's like
yeah,
music.
probably. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just don't. I think music is probably the most. I mean, I don't know. Whatever it is, though. I think it's the most relatable thing anybody can ever experience. So, if something can come out of you that is for you, cool. But if you think that it belongs like out on the internet, like cool too, and I still plan on like big mess, we're working on stuff right now, and I'm not necessarily working on any Scoff stuff right now, but I have some stuff, and I'm just like thinking about like how I want to do it.
Yeah.
Like putting out the full length was cool, and then the scraps thing was just kind of like leftovers. We haven't even talked about the new one yet.
Cough
Um,
by Scoffs.
which how long are we in this for? And then I'm just kidding. And then um that was kind of like the next little batch of stuff that I was starting to kind of do again. Um
Dude,
and
I
then I don't
listen to
know,
this stuff
big
like
mess took
on
over.
loop. Like I listen to the Scoffs stuff on loop. Like that's, you know, certain friends on the label, like my friend Robert Richard Ritter, who's based in Miami now. He goes by Diamond Gur, which is kind of just like an
Yeah.
accent releases, but you guys have a really similar like deftness to your like keys playing and like synthesizer like layering and like guitar versatility, all of it. and he has this one release that it's like music to sleep to that I like literally will loop, to sleep to. And I just selfishly want it out on more platforms like for myself. And I kept telling him like, dude, just like put out your whole discography, like I'll help you. And eventually we did. And I feel the same way with you with Scraps and Coughs, because again, I fell in love with reactions, but I just knew that was the tip of the iceberg. And, I love what you said about like, not everything an artist makes has to be for the world, but sometimes you make something and maybe you sit with it for a couple years or whatever, but then you realize like, no, this can go out there. And like I always felt like Reactions was like that, and I'm so glad you put out Scraps.
Well, I always kind of wanted to mix it a little bit more, and I wanted to like with the song with Josh, like that song could use more mixing. There's a lot of like stuff that I could have definitely done better. But like that's the other thing. Like I feel like when you go back and you kind of like mess with it, then that time capsule isn't really like the same. You're kind of like taking something that happened in a moment, and then you try to like redo it again, and the same sort of like whatever it is.
The alchemy.
I think sometimes it works. Like I know that Radiohead hung on to songs for like years, and but I'm not Radiohead. So
I mean,
um
things change. Like obviously, sonically, things just change, like room to room or whatever, hookups, rigs, situations. But I really believe in alchemy and like that, like what's happening. Like Jimi Hendrix called recording voodoo. Like I think of it as like
well, yeah, I mean I agree. It is. You have to be in a transcendent, or what's the word? A transcendic, you know
like
what I'm trying to say.
you are transcending the physical kind of.
Yeah, right.
There's like some weird, it's like the Taurus field. There's some weird like synergy happening. And I get demoitis all the time. And I feel like I hear that with so many musicians too, where like they'll record a demo and they're really excited with how like, the energy feels or whatever. And then like they'll go to the studio and try to recreate it and it just won't be there. I mean, I heard like with
Yeah.
song two by Blur, I think Damon Albarn said like it was like a scratch vocal take, but then when he went back to like re-record the vocals, everyone was like, "Nah, man, like the original's got to stay." So it works both ways, and I think it's fair to like let stuff process within your own soul and body mind complex before you release it. But I'm really glad you're putting music out because it's really, really beautiful stuff, and the Coughs release is beautiful. I love that Hawaii song. I love the Piggy song. Honestly, just all of it. And it again, it flows because I'll just like listen to like the EPs on loop, and it's like it's such a good little flow. And I'm very excited for yeah. Maybe you can tell us what's next for Scoffs and Big Mess.
Yeah, so so like that's what I'm trying to figure out, like with the scoff stuff. I want to do um I- more in the moment, like if there's a song that I wrote, and then maybe like I basically what happens to me is like I'll get busy with life, right? And I'll like have kind of an idea in mind. Maybe that would be like a bigger idea, but then I also just don't think people really like to listen to. I mean, unless it's like your favorite band or whatever. Someone like me that's kind of like coming in and saying hello. You can like my music, but I'm not going to be, as far as I can fathom, very far in the industry at this point in my life. So, it's just kind of like, you know, it's for fun. And I want to treat it like for fun, for myself. And, maybe, so yeah, maybe do like a one or two song thing, or a three-song thing or whatever. Just however it kind of, I just want it to be random and be able to like do it when I want and not do it when I want. But with Big Mess, it's definitely, it's a band. It's we all write songs. Rob writes songs like on his phone.
There's like an
Mike
app or something.
Mike, yeah, like he has like an app and he like figures out chords and like puts like a drum beat to it. It's like a puzzle for him, you know?
I taught a
Uh,
music class where I like showed kids how to do that, and within like weeks of like this was like at a middle school in like Traverse City, and like within weeks, the stuff they were writing in these like little phone apps, I was like, holy shit, this is so cool, you know? Like
I mean, some people would say, well, that's cheating. You're not learning it right. But I'm saying like,
if you
well,
can
like,
play it though, and then like you
yeah.
rearrange it however you want it, it's like, you know, it's not quite as bad as like using AI. I feel like it's just like a different tool. And a lot of people just feel like AI is a tool, but you know, I don't.
I
I've
mean, we're not recording. I mean, I'm not recording any of the Scoff stuff in the studio. I'm recording it. A lot of the stuff is MIDI, um, you know, but I also have a lot of like samples that I use that I
yeah.
turn into stuff.
Every time
But
the scoffs or like again, and I've listened to this stuff a lot. I feel like I will hear something new like in the mix, even still, you know, like I was obsessed with reactions for like years before I was like, what is that? Like it's almost like a train, like really far in the distance or something, like a bell or a horn with like a bunch of reverb on it. And like I mean a lot of people talk about like drone layers like in music too, but I feel like you really like like I just imagined you like a chef in your studio, like whatever you're throwing into Logic, like you know whether it's Big Mess with like the like what are those things called? Like the
I don't know. Yeah, I know those rattle things.
I forget
Yeah.
the name, but yeah, or like you know just like the way you like will layer like pads and like a bell kit and then like actual strings and like real piano. I feel like you have a that's something I've always you know said to you. I feel like you have a real like sonic like touch in terms of tonality, like whether that's with guitar or synths or keyboard or whatever. I feel like you're really good at understanding like everything big picture in like a mix sitting together. And I think that's, you know, like almost like you're like looking at it orchestrally, like George Martin style. You know, I always think
Well,
of,
that's what's so crazy about technology is like
yeah,
people can, I mean, I didn't know that I could really record music. I didn't know, you know, like my dad did it and we had like a little um or what was it, like a 2-inch tape
yep.
um reel to reel that we recorded on. And then my dad got this little like digital thing that he was recording on.
So
And I
cool.
sort of learned a little bit, but not really. It wasn't until the pandemic that really, when I did the first solo thing, that I really like started to understand, you know, how to mix things and put things together. And if we didn't have that technology, I don't think I'd probably ever do it. Like, and because, you know, it's a lot harder. There's a lot more man hours to put together tape and mic things and all that stuff. And I don't know if I have the patience for that. I don't know because I never really did it. Um,
Like plugging into an interface.
yeah, but like having things a little bit more ready available, like through programs and stuff like that, really does help speed things along, especially your creativity doesn't get lost in the like the knob of it. But
Right.
I but I think there's like a lot of with scoffs especially, I really like to layer and I like to build. And I think, you know, those are a lot of the songs are builds and they're like just like little concepts and ideas. And then, you know, and it plays with that kind of in a looping sort of like feeling.
It's almost,
And
but it's like, I love that, like your drum tones and like everything. But then obviously you'll have a song like,
well, I'm like, I'll do like, I'll put like a kick and snare and I'll like do that. But I now have like sampled all that stuff. So like I'll do like, you know, 15, 16. I mean, it's not like this is like an amazing thing that I've done. But there are ways now to do that, and I think a lot of people do that now, and
Amazed with
that
you.
really helps.
And yeah, I mean, I guess we could tell the world you are adding flourishes to the Quells album that I've been working on for like 2 to 3 years, recording in LA with my friend
Too
Chris.
long, man.
Yeah, I know. I feel it. It's just been, taking
Come
care of
on, Adam, put it out. Put it out, Adam. Come on, hurry up. Put it out. What are you doing? Put it out.
grad school fucked me up.
But
Divorce.
with Big Mess, we did record in a studio this time. It was awesome. In Ann Arbor, this guy named Jeff. He owns a studio called Big Sky Recording, and he's a really great dude. And my brother has recorded with him. And we wanted that space. And we're like, it's taking us a little bit longer than it did the last time. Mike, our guitar player, just had a baby. Um, and it's different now. I'm not in Livonia anymore.
You're
Uh,
back in
I'm
like
back in Ann Arbor. And um, so, being able to connect has been a little bit harder to do, but like we're getting there. We're getting there, and I'm really, really excited about it because it sounds really, really good. Like basically we did all the pianos and drums um in the studio, and then we're doing the rest of the stuff here. Uh, but so it's just like finding the time. And
funny. That's how we used to do it with the Kodaks. Like we had 2 albums recorded that way. We ended up scrapping the second record, but we were recording with Adam Cox because he had a studio with his buddy John Weir. They were like doing Dead Bodies, and they moved back from Seattle, and they had a studio, Brooksfield Gentlemen's Club in Detroit, that was like at the Russell, and then some like abandoned elementary school, which was kind of fun. Uh, so yeah, same idea, like recording the drums, and then we could just like take our time to record everything else. But I love the way From Sheldon Hall to Wonderland Mall, the third.
no, I do too. I think it definitely sounds, I mean, we were definitely aiming for a specific sound. And I think that's another thing with Big Mass is, when we were younger and playing songs, it was more about song, 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 song. Okay, we got 10 songs, let's put out a record. With was from Sheldon Hall, it was more of a concept. Like it was like kind of like uh, a love letter to where we grew up, Livonia, Michigan, in a lot of ways, and just childhood stuff or whatever. But it was also hidden with other stuff, that was going on in my life during that time. And
Now,
um,
now the new
the
record is called,
connection of friendship and stuff like that too, and understanding who your friends are, rather than like people that you thought were aren't. And so like going back home and re-understanding yourself for me personally is I think what it kind of represents.
it's
But
beautiful.
with the new one is about our high school experience. So it's so it's still a concept, and it still kind of like plays with the same themes. And I think that's kind of just like, I don't know if we'll always continue to do that. We kind of already have a idea for the next one
Oh, hell
that
yeah.
we're gonna do, but like we're not stopping. Like I don't think we'll play many shows. But we want to play shows.
Right.
Um, and again, treat it as a release rather than like a financial gain. I think is what keeps it fun and not like a job.
Totally. Yeah. And especially as I've gotten older, I really try to, view it that way. Obviously I had moved back to Michigan from Colorado to take care of my mom in 2023. So that was also when I first started going to LA to record because I just kind of started looking at it like, well, I'll look at it like a vacation and an investment, and I'll go out there for X amount of days and try
Yeah,
to.
when you get to a certain amount of when you get to an age where you're like, music is still really important in my life, but like the importance of like an atypical like, you're an adult now, in a lot of ways, and the dream is over in some capacity. Like, okay, yeah, the dream is over for like being like a big, just a not even a famous, just a successful artist. Um, kind of drifts away. You have to shift, but you don't. But the dream isn't over, like for yourself. And that's again, like I guess what I'm saying with the scoff stuff. It's like it's still like I still feel dreaming. I still feel like I'm dreaming sometimes when I finish a song. I'm like I was really proud when I wrote that Born Again in Ultra HD. I was really happy with how that came out. I was so like fuck it. Like, does that sound, I don't know, like I don't know. I don't care anymore. Like it's just like it felt good to do and I'm proud of it. So like
No, totally. I think it's like,
I'm going to be proud of it and like say that out loud.
yeah, because we have like such a culture of shame, and like you said, we're actually being like oppressed by like baby eating satanic pedophiles.
Well, what I was gonna say earlier to that was like I think the problem is fear. Like
Fear of rejection, fear of judgment,
yeah.
being
And
criticized.
when you don't really necessarily like have the pressure of that anymore, and I think that's probably why I made myself old too. Because it's like, what is the point? Like, what is the point of like, okay, I'm putting myself out there and I'm gonna have fun with it. And you can listen to it and like it once and then be done and listen to the records that you like, or you can like it and put it a part of the records that you like to listen to. It's like whatever. Like
Yep.
it's making me happy.
Yeah, you've been making Argentina happy too. A lot of like our Underflow like family has been like getting a lot of love in Argentina, so thank you to Zone Nights in Argentina.
Yes, thank you
Good
very
shit.
much.
Scoffs a lot. A Pesky Kid. My friend Christian Paul Philippi, who's been recording the Quells record. So yeah, it's interesting too. Like that's like the thing. Like you almost stop thinking about like people outside your circle listening to it because you're just like, oh, like this will be fun to put out. Like I'm proud I did it. Like I accomplished something. I'm just putting it out. Like maybe my wife or girlfriend or children or like mom or dad or cousins or brothers or friends or coworkers or whoever will like listen to it and think it's cool or funny or silly or get a kick out of it. But then like you start reading reviews in like other languages and stuff, and you're like, oh right, like it takes on a life of its own once it's out in the world too. And I think that's really special to think about, your words and your music connecting with people and like especially in such a dark.
Well, I don't take it for granted, right? Because like backing up from when I was able to kind of do it for real, um, I realize how lucky that is. Now that it's a different world, where you can just throw things out and see what sticks. Like everybody has that opportunity just in a different way. You just work harder in a different way to like make a presence, right? We were grinding, printing out map quests, going from town to town. Like that was the way to do it. There was no internet. So like that was the way to do it. And someone, 20 years before me would say it was done a different way. So it's just done a different way now, and I feel lucky to be able to be a part of that because it's not as important, but I still want to like make it present. So like I'm able to like do that, you
Yeah,
know?
I feel like you have this really amazing ability to walk this like line and like have this balance of like not taking yourself too seriously, but also there's like some pretty serious content in your songs. And like I think there's this beauty that you bring with your art that it's like you don't cheapen anything. Like it's not like, crass or like cheap jokes or anything. That's like funny and it's like kind of like, curious, like curiosity piquing, and I think there's like a lot of things being said in your music, like you said, kind of like what does it all mean? And we are gonna die someday, and so I think it's funny to be like, oh, I'm old, I'm dead. Oh, I'm just kidding, I'm back. Like, I'm not even old, like, and just keep putting music out because like that's fun, and then like the music itself is beautiful. So I'm grateful you're doing it, and I think we can all learn from each other, like you said. I thought that was a beautiful thing that you said. So I'm grateful you're putting music out as Scoffs and with Big Mess. And I'm hoping maybe I can like drag you out to LA and maybe like, we could like do a show together out there or something. Like again, I was just talking to my friend Christian about this. I feel like so many of us feel like it's not worth it to play a show unless it's like a local, like fun, like family friends thing, or if you get like an opportunity to like open for someone you care about, like opening for like I don't know Mortal Orchestra or opening for Jim O'Rourke or like
I
whatever.
just don't know how I would do it. I wouldn't want to bother anybody.
I'll play
Um,
bass.
I don't even know if I remember. Um, I don't even know if I'd be able to remember how to play all the songs, because it's kind of just like it's a moment, right? It's like you
That's what
have
I
this
love
moment.
about music. It's a time capsule, and I've always
Yeah.
felt like that too. And I'm so glad you took the initiative, like when the pandemic happened, that you're like, no, like I'm gonna do this. I've got some stuff in me. I mean, because a lot of that stuff is so beautiful. I mean, like I love the like punk song. I love 50/50. I love, your On Your Wrist is an Open Heart. Like it's like almost more like 80s like anthem vibes. I think you have this really incredible way of like dipping your toes in different pools without it seeming like, pretentious or like overly done. And I've always been like a quality over quantity person. And my friend Christian was just saying that about like the Quells stuff, and like he takes a long time mixing, and he's like, I just really don't want anything to be subpar. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. And I know that's like what you're doing right now with finishing the fourth Big Mess album, and technically what will be the fourth Scoffs release, because I know you already have a single you're sitting on. That's all. That's all I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, I mean, I got a couple things that I want to do, and yeah. I mean, Big Mess is on its way. We already know what it's called. It's called it's called Report Card, and it is all written and done. It's just being able to record it all. Um, and that's just been taking time because it's been finding time for scheduling, which is, whatever. And then,
maybe summer or something like that.
no, yeah, probably. I mean, our goal I mean, I'm hoping it will be done in the next 3 months.
Fair. Yeah, that's how I feel about my stuff. I've set my sights on fall. I'm about to start like putting out singles and just kind of drip feeding,
So
over the.
that's kind of my focus. And then, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you, I didn't mean to cut
Oh,
you
and then
off.
you've got scoff stuff and like
Yeah. And so like, yeah, that's, I got some things and I'm just it's kind of like weird because I'll like put little like things together. Sometimes I'll be like, I'm just want to like write something. And then other times I'll be like, oh yeah, I had that little thing. And so I'll go back and I'll listen to that little thing and then something will happen. And it's nothing. It's just like me like sloppily playing just like a melody I had and then you go back to it.
See, I love that, just like when my grandfather Jim Fitzgerald wrote for the Detroit Free Press, supposedly he had one drawer in his filing cabinet that was just like ideas, like scraps of paper he threw in there. So then if he didn't know what he wanted to write his like weekly column about, he could just reach into the drawer and like have scraps. ready to go. And I
Yeah.
definitely try to do that too, just like if I have like an idea or a riff or something, like a melody,
I
record it.
think everybody does. I mean, because look, it's hard, you know. I mean, if you're not waking up and walking into the studios like very few have the luxury of doing, like you have to like document it sometimes, you know. If you're a therapist, like you can't remember everybody's problems. You're gonna have to write it down too, you know. So like uh I don't know. I mean, it's just a different way of doing it. You know, it's the only way I know how to do it now. You know, I'm just kind of doing it where I know it's important in my life. I know music is important in my life, and I don't want to ever let go of it again because it definitely, I did let go of it. And I, that was the dumbest thing I ever did because it really made me, um, I forgot a part of who I was for about a decade. So now that like it's back there, like it really does it serves its purpose. You really like especially when you step away
Mhm.
from music and then you reopen the door to it. You like my experience is like you get to appreciate it in like a whole new light because it's like you understand how like precious it is to like have moments to get in a van at 15 years old and to never be able to do that again and write those songs and like those are precious moments. So like you know, you have those reminders, but the song itself, the time you get to like write is pretty sacred now. I know that sounds like ridiculous, but it is. It is for me.
It's true. I think especially with everything going on worldwide and like how much pretty much everyone is struggling to like, you know, cram whatever they want into their life in the amount of time that we're given, especially, most people are struggling to make ends meet. So like you said, very few people have the luxury of like walking into a studio, whether that's to paint or to write or to make music. And, I think that's part of why I went back to grad school because I was like, well, I've done the corporate thing and, I've always enjoyed teaching more than like being in an office. So I can't survive on what they pay high school teachers. So I'm hoping maybe being a professor will be better. But, I also, yeah, your video editing abilities, I have to thank you for all of the, Underflow podcasts, everything you see as far as the branding. You took Connor Irwin's artwork and my sister Elaine Smith's artwork and really like helped us build, build out the brand even further.
Well, you were very nice when we first met, and I really appreciated the I don't know, you were just you really liked what I was doing, and I really appreciate that. And so being a part of this is kind of a kind of like a thing where kind of it's kind of like bros for life now, in a way. And so
I
like,
tell people
you
Underflow,
re
we're a family.
you repay the favor, I mean, like I got I'm done with music and I'm a video editor for my, 9 to 5 and I am also an animator. I don't make Hollywood movies, but I definitely, can
All you
take your logo and make it look crazy or not or whatever. And
you did of our mutual friend Josh Mallerman and
well, it's just something very small. What's that?
that documentary you made for Josh Mallerman of the High Strung is also fantastic. I mean, he's a wonderful writer and musician, but I think it's really cool, especially when it's like someone becomes like a hometown hero, even beyond Detroit or whatever. And I love that kind of look into Josh's life and those interviews you guys did, like with his mom and stuff. And you're just really talented at whatever you do, and I'm really grateful we're friends. And I love
Thanks.
what you said about not letting art go, like don't forget who you are. Like if you like to create, it doesn't need to be to make content or to make a product or to sell out or whatever. Like you can just create whatever that means. I mean, yeah, you're painting a lot more too, and I'm excited to hopefully get a page up online to help show the world your artwork, the multiple dimensions of Scott Rock.
I don't know if it's all good, right?
I
Like,
love it. I'm a huge fan of that type of mixed media, multimedia, like collage and paint, and everything you and Katie are doing is so cool. And I'm literally blown away every time you send me it, and I immediately show it to Cindy, and she's like, "Whoa," because she's also kind of making stuff in that realm, and also my friend Lee Wilberg is also making art in that vein, and so again, I'm putting together an Underflow zine with just kind of like a little interview with, artists that I'm friends with, like yourself, and, featuring their artwork and, just so I can kind of drop those off at coffee shops and libraries throughout my travels and everything like that, because I've been
no,
getting,
I think that's super cool. I mean, that's why,
oh,
you know, your label reminds me of like how I grew up with zines and a lot of free shit.
yeah,
And the internet's free, and so whatever. Like,
free
I mean,
stickers and free zines and free chapbooks.
yeah, yeah. I mean, look, if it makes you
It makes me happy.
if it keeps
Don't dream it's over.
smile on your face when you wake up every day, like I say, keep doing it because, man, I can tell you what, I know what it's like on the other side, and it ain't fun. And, so, music, it does save you from a lot, and art saves you from a lot. All of our music, painting, movies, all that stuff. And, I think I do it because it's, what makes me probably, I feel good when I do it. That's when I feel at my best. And the fact that I was able to build a career around that is cool. It's different. Like the video part is different because, I'm not like making like great, artwork out of it every day. It's my job. But yeah, being able to do that with Josh was a really fun moment. I didn't really know Josh before that. I mean, I kind of knew him a little bit, but I did reach out to him, and this was before, Bird Box.
Yeah.
This was before he really kind of, became,
Famous
what
all.
he is now. And so that was really, really fun to do. And I really wanted to do it right. And I I did it on no budget. I didn't spend like any money doing it. I spent maybe
Oh,
like
good.
$400 to do it.
I'm saying like anything
And
you put your mind to, you can do. Like I love the visuals for Big Mass. I love all the videos and like the promo stuff. I love
well,
the
that's the thing. Like I take my profession and that's my way of like self-promoting us. Like that's why I think it is like things like you
great.
know, Instagram and Facebook, like you're still able to sort of like put things out there to like, the moms and dads of the world and your old friends and new friends or whatever. Um,
It's so different.
I, what?
Just so different now. I was trying to remember if I told you like a couple days ago I watched Biodome because Cindy had never seen
Cool.
it before. And that was like one of my favorite movies growing
It's
up.
very impressive to take cigarette butts and turn it into a filter.
I
I
mean,
must say.
It hasn't aged horribly. It has a 4% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's considered one of the worst movies ever made. But compared to like kind of like the formulaic like superhero movies and like AI slop that's out there now, it has a lot of like personality and charm and there's like a very real conservation message, but it's just so crazy thinking back to like us growing up in the 90s and like
Oh,
landline
yeah.
and like no
Well, that's
dial.
literally all the Big Mess record's about. Like lyrically, it's
Right.
about a lot of like your high school experience. And like there's been a couple of friends of mine being like, "Are you gonna like write about like our like personal like high school?" There's a little bit of that, but it's more like the generalization of like that time, what everybody sort of like goes through. So
Relatable. You said something earlier which was really
it's
profound.
not, I'm not reinventing the wheel. It's just my own like,
Uh,
it's our own
Still, it's still though.
our own
You said
take.
something earlier which struck me as really profound that music is maybe like the most like relatable like thing we can all experience, because the human experience is so subjective and it's really hard to find any like objective truth or like relatability or even apparently human decency or common empathy.
I
And
just think all arts,
But
a
yeah, it
painting,
helps people. It builds bridges like in that way, I feel like, or it helps people understand it gives people an education so they can offer empathy or something like that. So I'm really glad that you put your art out into the world and I love everything you said. I mean, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add before we wrap this up. Your hair
I
looks
love what you do too, man. And thanks again for like always doing this, to like be like there's only so many like cheerleaders, and I think that you are definitely no, you are. You are very very kind to a lot of people, and you want to be helpful and you want to be a part of it. And hey, like if you want to like help my presence a little bit with the solo thing and big mess stuff, like, thank you. Like, I really appreciate it. And, the whole thing is, I think the older I get, as we all age, like, you have to, like, always remind yourself of, like, why you fell in love with something.
right.
And that is by, not letting the oil run out of the can.
Yeah.
Keep like, you know, don't get stiff, keep oiling yourself up because like, it's hard. It's hard to, but whatever time you can make to do it, like I think that's the biggest lesson I've taken out of it. It's for everybody to hear and experience, but you're the only one in that moment that can create it. And so like I like that aspect. And then once it's out, it's like everybody else's, but like whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
You had said something
yeah,
like
man, whatever.
whatever, man. Maybe to end it, you had said something the other day along these lines of like, like we spend so much of our time as artists like pouring like, it's like the idea of the muse or something and like pouring like our hearts into like a love song for like a girl or whatever. But also we have to love ourselves and we have to be grateful like for ourselves and our own ingenuity and our own creativity, especially in a time where everybody's like doom scrolling on a phone. Like if you're like out in nature or in creating physical art with your hands or like even in Logic or MIDI or whatever, like that's special, and like that's
Yeah.
something Cindy has really helped me like realize is like, I love her so much, and she always says, well, like, don't you realize, like, I love you that much? Like, you're that cool. Like, you think I'm cool. Like, you're that cool to me. And I feel like it's taken me this long in my adult life to, like, build up self-confidence in that level. And I remember when Shady Groves put out our second album, Dreamboat, and that was like around the time you had just put out the first Scoffs record and we were becoming good friends. And I remember I told you I just felt so horrible, like that it had taken so long to finish it. And I felt like, I was really grateful that we got write-ups and reception and, radio play or whatever. But it was like the end of the band. And, it just felt like, death rattle, like, and you called me and you were like, don't worry, man. Like, you did it. Like, you made these cool songs. Like, you said you really liked Backflips and the other songs, and like, you were,
Yeah.
you just really jazzed me up as a friend and saying, like, don't worry about whatever people say. Like, fuck that shit. Like, whatever. You made art, and some people do
Yeah.
like it, and some people will dance to it. And it's also like a testament, like you said, something we can take for granted when we're in our teens or our 20s. All of a sudden, in our 30s or our 40s, we'll look back and maybe it's a shitty demo, or maybe it's a photo of us sleeping on a floor on tour. And it's like, wow, like we did
Yeah,
that.
because if you look back, with like that's why I didn't change any of this stuff, because I want to say like, okay, that was the moment in time. That's that I worked on something, not I worked on something over the span of time, which happens with paintings and things like that or whatever. But I'm just saying, like with music, for me, the way I feel is I want to look at it as a moment in time rather than just a masterpiece I'm trying to create.
Yeah. Time
And
capsule.
because whatever,
Part of our
because
living,
whatever.
whatever. So, well, with that, thank you so much, Scott. I love you, dude. And seriously, you've become like a brother to me in these past
Yeah,
months that have been really crazy for both of us. And we've
yeah,
reinvented ourselves, and we're still here better than ever, honestly. So I'm really
yeah,
grateful
man.
for your friendship and your beautiful music.
Thank,
I can't wait to hear what you put out next. Please, everybody,
yeah.
go listen to the new EP, Coughs by Scoffs. And I guess we'll talk to you soon, brother.
All right, man. Take care. Bye bye. See ya, everyone. Goodbye.
Well,